everybody! It's good to see you. Tech gremlins are hopefully resolving themselves. Welcome back to SoulCare Sundays. It's been a hot minute. I've got some romance authors and readers of romance works backstage, and we're going to address some topics that are appropriate and unintentionally on point. See you in a bit. Welcome back to the 2025 edition of SoulCare Sundays. My name is Jenna O'Malley. I am your soul writer. Let's go ahead and talk about the things that we as creatives were chatting about in writing chats recently and beyond anyway. I have some lovely guests here with me as part of my panel cast for this month. And if you want to go ahead and join us, check the description box below. We are looking for people to be part of our lineup, new and old. Glad to see you. Of course, it would not be a stream without one of my favorite co-streamers, Mama Maggie.
Hello, lovelies. Mama Maggie Ward, independent author, stroke survivor, migraine overcomer, and allegedly I have romancy things in my book, but yeah, kind of a B plot, C plot thing. Yeah, no. Okay, so this one is romance. Yeah, okay, but anyway. Oh, and these two are romance because, yeah, those are the ones I was dared to write. So there is that. But yes, welcome to Romance Writer Chat for SoulCare Sunday. And I'm glad this is working because it's going much better than our Myth Labs. Our Mythology and More stream that we tried to do last week.
Which we're going to try and do again this coming week, I think, on the 20th at 6. Check out, everybody. You think we're covering serpents and snakes, we said?
We're doing, for the Year of the Snake, Chinese New Year, it happened. We were going Year of the Snake. And so, yes, I have a lot of interesting, scaly mythology. There's more snaky things out there than just gorgons.
This is true. This is so true. Speaking of someone who probably knows a lot about those kind of things because of the stuff she epically writes and does manga-like things and art-like things for, Sako to me in the house.
Howdy, neighbors. I'm Sako Toomey, also known as Cass Voight. And I do a lot of things, and I wear a lot of hats. But this account is dedicated to my writing, in which I write urban fantasy with horror overtones. I'm actually in the throes of writing my first paranormal romance, which is why I'm here. If you'd like to be Googling me, you can find me under Sako Toomey, Psycho Sako, or Cass Voight. Drop a line sometime. I would love to see you.
Awesome. And then, of course, someone who definitely does subscribe herself to the romance author. It's often in her tagline, Stephanie.
Oh, you're muted, son.
I press her mute button and she's speaking.
Dang. Okay, here we go. I am not muted anymore. My name is Stephanie. I primarily write small town contemporary romance. And on this channel, you get a little bit of everything from me. I think that's it.
If you have not been sprinting with Stephanie as of late, you've been doing with Sky, the 7-day book challenge?
Yeah, the 7-day book challenge. I did that. And then before that, I did 12 streams with the AuthorTube BookTube under 1K subscriber marathon. That was a lot.
That was
who organized that? I think someone organized that. Saint Sam organized that. Hello, Sam.
Hey, everybody. My name is writer Sam Wicker, and I am a writer of romantasy that ranges anywhere from 1 or 2 scenes on the page to it's every single chapter. So yeah, on my channel you can see my writing endeavors and of course the snoring Kona, who is my dog.
Kona had a lot of things to say about Mama Maggie's wear chihuahuas this morning, so if you missed Breaking the Block,
I'm watching it now. Yeah.
Oh my God. You need to go to Sam's channel and you are in for a tickle your laughter until it hurts kind of treat, everybody.
Yep.
So I've asked my co-hosts to feel welcome to share any links they would like in the chat. I know that a couple of them are also co-streaming to their channels. So if you are on mine, feel welcome to, meander to the different rooms of the webs and say hello. I'm going to get them started on their first question that we have outside of the intros and go ahead and share some hellos to people in chat in the meantime. Question number 2, question mark, because intros were number 1. Which romance novel did you read first, my friends, if you recall, or first one you remember?
The first one I ever read, I was probably way too young to be reading it because I was only like 8 or 9 years old. But my mother had one of those, and I am dating myself. Back in the 60s and 70s, you could pay $10 a year, and they would send you a romance novel, a little romance paperback novel, like every 2 weeks. And everyone belonged to the Harlequin book club. And yeah, I unfortunately, I was a voracious reader at that age and was like, mom's always reading these. What are these about? And I was like, nah. So yeah. Unfortunately, yeah, I did not return back to reading romance, I think, until I started discovering cowboy romances in like my 30s and 40s.
I actually had a different answer for that, but listening to Maggie talk kind of reminded me, no, I've been reading longer than that. I was in my mom was in a Harlequin, romance membership. A lot of Danielle Steele and I can't remember another, but the first time I stumbled on it was I was reading Laurel K. Hamilton's Anita Blake series. The first and the third books are like my favorites, and that like basically made me want to become a writer of that genre. Like, yeah.
Happy birthday, Kara.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Yes, all the birthdays.
Okay, I honestly can't remember the first romance novel I read. I was racking my brain about this one. I mean, I know I read like Sweet Valley High, but I wouldn't call that like adult romance. I'd call that like young adult, middle grade romance. And then more recently, as an adult reader, I read Twilight, because who hadn't read Twilight sometime in their reading? And then I read like Outlander and Discovery of Witches. They all have romance in them. But honestly, I can't remember the first one. The fact that you guys have better memory than I do.
So for me, other than like the middle grade kind of that had romance in it, like Lord of the Rings, Little House on the Prairie and stuff, I want to say that my first one was either Montana Sky by Nora Roberts or Dare to Kiss a Cowboy by Renee Razel or something like that. My mom was in with a book trading circle with a couple of my aunts and some of her friends, and needless to say, I got my hands on a couple of them, and those two I kept and reread often.
I'm kind of a combo, and if you're looking at the poll, you're like, why did Jenna put 10 and under? I was an innocent little girl of 8 years old helping my parents pack up to move from Baltimore to Cumberland, and my mom was like, those are mommy's Sweet Valley High books, honey. And I'm like, oh, okay. They were Harlequin.
Mm-hmm.
They were mommy's, all right. That was a fun moving week. I had a lot of questions from my mother. So yeah, some of some of us, our moms thought they were being cautious, and they were not. And looking back, yes, I have told my mother, it's kind of your fault. I write what I write. You planted that seed. I hope you're happy. You wanted me to read.
I hope you're happy.
And a lot of people are agreeing with the Harlequin. V.C. Andrews, Flowers in the Attic. That
Is that really a romance, though? I mean, it's one of my favorite books, but I wouldn't call it exactly a romance.
undertone. I mean, if you're not expecting what's in it, I guess you could. That could be your first. It could be a bridge ?
I mean, I have it on my shelf right now.
There's several of the Anne McCaffreys that I read before I was like 10 or 12 years old that had like romantic undertones to them. But she liked to write people, so
that's very fair. So, extending on that line of thought a little bit, then, which romance novel have you found yourself rereading the most often, if any?
Well, if we're going with V.C. Andrews' Flowers in the Attic as romance, I would say that one. I have read and ruined several copies of it because I've read it so often. And yeah.
I don't really reread romance. I guess the closest I get is I format Ginny Noble's Guardian series, and I get to read those. So I get to read them multiple times over, and it's a joy. It is a joy. So if you are into paranormal romance, I strongly suggest J. Noble.
Mine's always going to be Pride and Prejudice, probably, because I reread it almost every year. But other than that, it's probably the whole Dare to Kiss a Cowboy.
Aww.
Yeah. It's Harlequin, but oh well.
Mine is my friend Julie Midnight's book called Secrets in the Moon, The Werewolves of Crescent City. It's this very 1940s film noir kind of a setting with a werewolf PI trying to help this really feisty heiress who she's got like all the moxie, but she's also been cursed and she's accused of killing her father. And then there's this whole conspiracy thing going on. And I love the way they interact. I love the main character, Cora, because she's just so feisty. You know, she plays the clueless, feisty heiress, but she's really like super smart. So yeah, this one travels with me. It's still got coffee stains on it from the last time I took it on a plane. We hit some turbulence, and the coffee spilled and got on my book. So, yeah, that's my book.
For me, and it's not necessarily because of her romance, but it's because she's one of the snarkiest writers I've ever read. J.R. Ward, her sarcasm, I love it. So I don't really read her for her romance, though that's good, but just her tone of voice. I find myself laughing at things I should not be laughing at, and that's okay. So a lot of romance authors tend to have that kind of dark, snarky humor, to be fair. What others do we have? Dark and Twisted, maybe. I shared the link on my channel that end to Ginny's books, Nora Roberts, Julia Quinn. They have a lot of stuff that gets turned into movies still, I think, right? Like made for TV.
Lifetime.
That's what I was
Hallmark Channel.
Yep. Oh, if you haven't read Christine Pope's books, I like those because I don't know too many people who do witches and jinns and things like that. For sure. Next question. We're getting into tropes. What tropes do you look for most in the novels you read? I guess we could say paranormal creatures too. I'll throw them in with tropes. Sorry, guy.
I actually, it annoys me, but I like the miscommunication trope when it's done well, because everybody sees the world through goggles. Everybody's got their experience goggles, and they look at everything through it. Now, if it's just the miscommunication trope with no reason for it, and they just misunderstood, and now they hate each other, and then they're friends to lovers, that annoys me. That annoys me. I want there to be a reason for the miscommunication, and I want them to have to work on that reason, because the miscommunication trope doesn't mean anything if they don't work on it. And so, yeah, I tend to look for that one, which is why I have so few. I have happy for nows and not happy ever afters.
Yeah. Yeah. I like the damsel in distress. Usually when it's flipped on its head a little bit and the dude needs to be rescued. The two butts in one walkway, like kind of like the only one bed, but there's no bed. If I can find it, blood play. The rest I'm kind of like learning as I go.
I'm kind of like all over the place with the tropes that I read in romance novels that I read myself. Sometimes I do age gap. Sometimes I'll do like forced proximity. It kind of just varies depending on my mood, really. I haven't come across a trope in romance that I'm like, that's not for me. I'm not the one to be like, I'm only gonna read this type of romance. I will consider any romance, really.
So I tend to go for like a he falls first, which all the books so far are that. Kind of like a tsundere main female lead, because she's got to be tough. She's got to fight off everything and has no emotions, kind of thing, but she's really caring underneath it all, and she tries to hide that, but it fails. And I also like the clueless. Like, if one of the main characters is absolutely clueless with the flirting or the hints or anything like that, and they're like, oh, okay, and they walk off. I love that.
Beth, if it doesn't, I'm in trouble. If either of those don't count, I'm in a lot of trouble, because I have some of both in two of my books, but different sides of a coin. So yeah.
Yeah, but enemies to lovers you have to be so careful with, because are they enemies trying to unalive each other, or are they just annoyed to lovers? So
are they supposed to be enemies, or do they actually want to be like, look, dude, I'm tired of your
Is it the Romeo and Juliet version of enemies where their families are enemies, or is it the we're from rival universities enemies, or is it
West Side Story?
Or is it, if I see you on the battlefield, I'm probably going to skewer you?
Very much so. Also, new poll in chat for everyone about which do you prefer to read based on. I see a lot of good fake relationship likes. Cortef, really? Considering the character you gifted me has a bromance with all of his other fellow comedic relief, come on. I introduced to you one of the friends who lent me a character. Hello, Cortez. He's also a streamer over on Twitch. Do you feel welcome to catch him on occasions? Let's see. Kat, you like the fake dating, enemies to lovers, brother's best friend. I forgot about that one.
That's a good one.
Mm-hmm. Okay. question. What tropes do you feature most in your own books by comparison? Maggie, you have a couple you address, sweetheart. Don't shy away.
I do. I do the miscommunication trope because, everybody looks at the world through their goggles, and my characters do too. And like in Pagosa, in the Pagosa books, Deputy Lloyd McConnell hates gossip, but he's the first person to listen to it. And it really drives a big wedge between he and his love interest. And I write second chance romances. I write people who are like, I am absolutely not going to ever fall in love with anyone ever again, period. And then kind of a thing happens. But my favorite's the miscommunication trope. It's where they end up on such polar opposites, and then they find out that nothing is what they thought it was. And that, I think, people having to work for it, because I have insta love in a few of, I have a form of soulmates in a few of my books, but the thing is nobody gets a smooth ride. It's not, oh, we're so in love and we're just gonna go together forever. No.
We like drinking the tears of our readers with our coffee. Thanks, y'all.
Yeah, send me your tears. I need them for my roses. I live in a drought zone.
I request Mama Maggie mug merch that says that now. Thank you very much. Taco.
Oh my gosh. I am currently doing the damsel in distress flipped. The love interest is going to save her her significant other as well as her roommate, and I'm a big fan of close proximity, writing close proximity, and damsel in distress. I do.
So my first romance book, I did some miscommunication trope in there. It was a blind date. And then the next one was full of, I call it second chance romance. And it's not that they're trying again with someone they used to date in the past. It's that they're giving, after they gave up on love and never finding again, they're giving love a second chance. And in those 3 different stories, one was like a single parent trope, one was an age gap, and the other one was like the boy next door type trope. So I guess mine is a little bit all over the place. I'm trying to find which tropes I like best when I'm writing. So I'm
doing that with horror, and it's a blast just going through the tropes, and
because there's all different ways, all different tropes you can do, and you can always combine different tropes as well in your plot lines. So
I do that with sci-fi and fantasy because it's like all the tropes.
yeah.
Put them all in the same book.
No, you put them all in. You put 4 tropes in each book, and then you end up with how many book series?
No.
The current count is 27. Are we talking only about the Myrna Owls or not?
So I do all 3 of my favorite tropes: the he falls first, the tsundere, and the clueless. I also do brother's best friend. It's actually in the Belle Earth Witch. Found family is another one of my favorites because everybody
that's a
likes
good one
found
too.
family. Yeah, and of course enemies to lovers because
Need you say more?
Not the angst. All the angst.
I kind of agree with I gotta have my bromances as much as I have my romances, apparently. I finally got the message the other day of why hasn't Frey kissed Ian yet? And I'm like, we don't want to talk about that.
You know, Frey's thought about it.
He only drug him back to the first chapter and not to give him to Mommy Dearest. Just Ian's the one saying no, and consent is a thing. So we're about to get into topics that will involve those kind of questions-ish, so it might get a little heavy after Carla's question here. Mama Maggie, on second chance, how do you balance backstory with the new story? Let's get some technique in here first.
Okay, well, all right, so in some of the books, it was the second chance romance turns out to be with a new person. And, you know, and so you're having a second chance romance. Two people are working through their baggage to find something new. And that was, it involved talking, it involved miscommunication, it involves one person just going, you know what, I'm not going to do this again. We are friend zone, here's the wall. And that happens. You just write it. The way that feels real, the way that people actually interact in such a way. But another way is like in Blue Water and Blue Butterflies right here, it's Camille and Kyle, and they are getting back together. So it's the same couple trying to rebuild what was blown apart when Camille's sister and Kyle's brother died. So it's, you know, people have to work through things. And when you have the second chance trope, it's not like there's two things that often get confused in romance writing. And everybody's heard my pet peeve about this. There's falling in lust and there's falling in love. Falling in lust is easy. It's like, ooh, he is kind of hot. I wouldn't mind tapping that. And then there's falling in love, which is like, in Windswept, Tank knows that Miranda's got more walls than the Supermax because she was betrayed by her first husband. When her son died, he basically sent her the divorce papers through her base commander. Didn't even go see her after their son's funeral. Just sent her the divorce papers. And so when she runs into Tank, he's like, she's brave, she's beautiful, she's funny, she's feisty, she's everything I would want. And they start with that kind of falling in lust thing. But as he starts to get closer to her, she has to work through her issues. He has to work through his issues. And the thing is once they get together, those issues don't go away. Those as far from it. And in Windswept Stars, I will give you guys the spoiler right now. At the end of Windswept Stars, Miranda walks away. She's like, I can't do this. I cannot. I don't have it in me to love someone else. And so Wind on the Mountain is the next book, and that is going to be Tank convincing Miranda that you do deserve to be loved, and I'm going to be the one to love you. So balancing it out is you have to have them talk about the past. You have to have them talk about why this is a second chance for you, why they are having these hesitations, why they take something the wrong way, which leads to the miscommunication trope. You know, because, you know, you walk into somebody who's had a bad heartbreak, you're walking into a minefield. And and there's going to be misunderstandings, there are going to be blow-ups, there are going to be things that, like, there's a scene in here where Miranda blows up on Tank because he tells her, you're not going to do this. And she's like, you're not my ex-husband. You can't tell me what to do. And those are actual real life things that happen. So to write a good second chance romance, you need to tap into that thing that your author mind can find to relate to your reader. So your reader will be like, if they didn't go through it, they knew someone who did go through it. And even if you're writing a completely fantasy world, like Ghost with Cats, Ghost with Hope, Ghost with Ink, my Book of Elo series, there is a very strong romance thread through the whole thing between Annie and Tall. But the thing is they have being from different species, they have cultural differences. They have landmines from past relationships, and they have to work through it. And even writing a completely science fiction setting or a completely fantasy setting, if you can plant those little seeds in there that are relatable to the reader as something I've gone through, something my friend has gone through, it makes them want the book more, because it makes them feel like they know the characters better and they know that world better.
That was a very detailed, and to kind of ping off what Eva's saying about the current poll, I'm asking it for a reason because we're kind of going there in our discussion. After this one, what powerful messages do you find most romance novels that have lasted in your brain as a writer for so long? What do they carry? Like, are they holding a collective overtone for holding space for certain things, or no gatekeeping?
No gatekeeping. I am a rabid fan of dark romance, and there are no safe topics. Like they go to extreme lengths to be not so much romance as horror, being, that's like the horror and romance crossover, right? So like I see Eva basically being like, what did she say? She said, like, it's drug use only allowed in dark romance. But, like, dark romance is such a huge umbrella, like, I think we can all stand under and stay dry.
I think it's like there are some genre things that you can't bleed into other genres. Like you cannot have a cozy and then dark romance, because the trope windows are so separated. I mean, you can't have rape, incest, drug use, murder in a cozy romance. I mean, you can have it like a little bit of murder in a cozy mystery, but you're not going to have it on page. You're not going to have it on page. I mean, in the blue duology, part of the reason that happens between Camille and Kyle is Kyle basically gets roofied by his brother to try to get some pictures with some strippers so that he can try to get his share of inheritance, because he owes this mafia guy a lot of money. And what he doesn't realize is that he's using his brother's phone to take the picture, and it uploads to the cloud. So Camille and her sister see 328 images of the bachelor party that went way too far, because Christopher roofied Kent and Kyle because he needed $1 million. So, that's in there. I also have, so lack of consent things can happen in romances, but it's where are you on the romance spectrum? And, there are some, when you move over into the darker side of romance, there are some things that people can't read. And when you move to the very light, fluffy, cozy side of romance, there are some things that people just like, they're like, oh, I can't read that. It's just too light. It's too hallmarky. Yeah. And so it's the spectrum of, in romance, there is the biggest spectrum you can have. It happens. Mm-hmm. And, we literally have everything from like, the Sweet Valley High, YA, almost cozy romance mystery kind of a things. Babysitter Club has a few tones like that, all of the way to the Omegaverse. And to think about that stretch is in just one genre is a real stretch. And so finding your niche. It's like I had one of my books that somebody said was urban grim dark because the character escaped being an abused child. And that's not what the majority of the book is about, because I write overcomer fiction, so I write a lot of second chance.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it all depends on what tropes you're looking for within the genre umbrella, because there are so many subgenres in romance.
Any other add-ons to that question? Sam, did you have a chance to go for?
Yeah. If you can write it and if you want to read it, I say go for it. But just make sure that you put those warning labels on there for some
Trigger warning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
trigger warnings. Because if it's marketed like grim dark or something like that, and then you have some kind of weird cozy something, if you can manage that, then that's going to turn a lot of people off, unless they're like, okay, this is different, I'm just going to keep reading it. So content warnings, many tentacles. Yes.
Yes.
One cup.
Only one?
Does the cup have poison or does it have wine?
Ink. Just tons of ink.
And if so, who's cleaning it up later? Because it's not me. Knows.
You know, minotaurs don't wear short togas because they dangle below the toga line. So,
Maggie. Oh my gosh. Welcome to Romance-ish Author Hour, everybody. If you're kind of just joining in and you're like a couple of people going, what did I walk into? Shenanigans. This is the purpose of SoulCare Sundays, to have a safe space, to have these off-the-wall conversations just for... We're touching on them in chats anyway. Let's go. What's the next question? If you want to add some questions, start putting them in the chat. So, why do you think so many romance authors are female? And gatekeeping and whatnot, we're treading there again. Should it remain the case? Why or why not?
I think a lot of women are not as vocal about their sexual frustrations, and they take it out on their writing. I think men don't know how to write women, boobs bouncing, boobily, and whatnot.
the boobily's bouncing boobily.
Yeah. Women are just as guilty about not writing men accurately.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that if a guy out there, a male out there, could write romance well, it'd be like a needle in a haystack thing. Because from what I've read a few like romance novels that had guys' names on them. I don't remember the names. It's been a while. But for the most part, when you're reading something, you can definitely tell if it's a male or female writing it, especially when it's talking about sex or like boobs or whatever and things like that. So, I mean, if they could write it better, maybe they would write it. But for the most part, I just think females usually could write it better.
See, I think that the gender of the author does not matter as long as you're not fetishizing what you're writing about. I mean, oh my goodness. I every year I threaten to write the Substack. His anatomy should not do that to her anatomy, because yeah, we've all read about those, and yeah, that's not going to fit anywhere in either male or female anatomy. I'm just saying this. And also, yeah, don't fetishize. I mean, you can write fetishes without fetishizing the people. Like, there's a lot of people who write gay romance, and for a while there was this trend where it was like even the gay guys were like, we don't actually do no. And it's like, and it's like, it's you need a sensitivity reader that's of that persuasion
Mhm.
to make sure that you haven't turned it into something that it is absolutely not. And that's part of the boobs bounced booblies. So write the smexy time, write the fetishes. There's a lot of different things going on out there that you can touch on, and you will have an author audience like that.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
don't disrespect the people doing it. And it's like there's a lot of people that are in the BDSM community, and this is the major complaint about erotica romance, that people outside the BDSM community are writing BDSM romances, and they completely ignore that the primary thing in that is consent. There is a reason there are safe words. There are a reason that there are lines. And so as long as you don't fetishize unrealistically, I think write whatever you want. What your gender does not matter.
Sam?
I mean, there are a couple of males that write romance-ish, like Legends and Lattes author. That is a very cozy romance. There's nothing on the page, but it's there. And I love those books. Brandon Sanderson does decent. Again, there's nothing on the page, so I don't know if the boobs be bouncing or not with him.
Mhm.
But so there are guys out there that can, and I don't feel like we should gatekeep, because we as female authors have been blocked from a lot of things ourselves, and who are we to say, nah, you can't write romance because you have dingleberries,
I think that's bold. Yeah, absolutely.
Just because you have a twig and berries does not mean you're eligible to use the twig and berries on the paper.
I think Ava's question: do men dominate other genres? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, howdy.
Boy, howdy indeed.
Because women are the dominant readership also could be important to some readers, Eva, is where I was going to go. For example, I have one or two clients whom I will not name, who their target reader is this for a reason. So I would dwindle it down to, it doesn't matter about gender, what's your intended reader for then for sure in that regard, because I might not be your intended reader, but still enjoy the book, and that's okay too, because you got a sale out of it. But that's not always a wise way to make sales either, to be fair. And this. I'm the youngest of 5 and the only girl. I got told this a lot growing up. So yeah, I think some of it's a stigma that may be going away. I hope so. Because I just want to enjoy a good book, yo. I just want to enjoy a good book, yo, for sure. Any other questions before we get ready to wrap up, wind down? Any questions from the panelists on screen, or in chat?
I have a question for my other panelist. Which romance considered trope will you absolutely not write?
I probably wouldn't write. I'll go first. I probably wouldn't write like a teacher-student type situation in a book. That sort of thing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do that.
I'm having trouble thinking of one.
That's a fair answer.
I don't think I could write. I write werewolves. I do.
Oh, kids. I can't write kids.
Yeah, no kids. But I don't think I could go into the whole Omegaverse because I've studied actual wolf packs, and doing writing something like that would get on my nerves because it's not how a pack works at all.
Right.
I have to agree with you about the kids. One of my stories has a kid in it because it's a single parent trope thing, and I've decided never again. It was fine.
So awkward.
It was awkward. Like, what do you do with the kid during dates and other things happening? And what if, so that wasn't my favorite one to write, so I probably wouldn't do it again.
Giving my character's offspring reminded me why I didn't want to be involved with children's theater. You're never where I need you to be when I need you. Dang it. So I probably will not write so young, like teenage. I'm okay with. They're a little bit easier to manage, but 8-year-old energy does whatever it wants.
That's how old my character was in my book. 8 years old, exactly.
That's hard to account for because they don't even always know what they're doing. The other one I cannot do on the page is pregnancy loss, and that's just personal.
Yeah,
so, and it can happen off screen. I can't write it.
I have figured out how to write child abuse as a survivor. I have figured out how as an abuse survivor. I have figured out how to write those. I write them from victim perspective, overcoming it. But the one trope that I will absolutely never, ever write is the assault to lovers. Is that violent abuse into lovers. Yeah, Jen and I are exactly the same in this, and we've talked about this before in chats, that abusers to lovers, no. Your abuser is never going to love you, ever, 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 no matter how much you give up, no matter how many pounds of flesh you give them. And there is no magic turnaround, because anger management is a nice thought. Protection orders are just a piece of paper, and and if you stay with an abuser, no matter how much they claim to have reformed, you are one bad day from them harming you again. And nobody should live under that.
I'm feeling called out.
It's okay, Sako. We send you all the hugs.
My abuser has reformed, and he no longer abuses me. No.
I'm glad that's the truth for you. I am.
Mm-hmm.
I really am. So this is a safe space. Let me just say. To all
Okay,
of those
good. Because.
I'm glad that you're the lucky one in the room, because
I consider myself very lucky.
My abusers never regretted anything, and one of them went to his grave still saying that the abuse he heaped on us, the bones of mine that he broke, were my fault. So
fuck that.
Yeah. It's
no.
And you don't and just because you share blood with an abuser, whether it's a parent or a sibling or a grandparent, something, just because you share blood with them does not mean that they have the right to hurt you and gaslight you and tell you that, well, I'm your family and I said sorry. Yeah. An apology is not a magic eraser for a whiteboard to remove the slate. Damage was done, and we're not going to have any more damage.
Forced family.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I would not. No.
Yeah.
That has some connotations.
Read it.
I.e., we're a bunch of orphans, so we're kind of forced to be. But other than that, no. Sorry, I've watched too much anime to know how weird that can get too quick. So we are going to leave this on a note of, regardless of what you read, regardless of what you write, Thank you for making a safe space for yourself and others. Thank you for spending time with us, everybody. I think we're going to start with Maggie and backtrack around and do outros, maybe, if we don't have any other questions.
Thank you for coming, lovelies. Author Mama Maggie Ward, independent author, stroke survivor, migraine overcomer. I do have a lot of, because I write overcomer fiction, I have a lot of very tropes that people have to deal with their trauma to move through. And I touch on a lot of things, and I am, because I write overcomer fiction, I have trauma warnings on chapters in my books because I have some things I don't want sneaking up on people who have been through trauma. And as a trauma survivor myself, yes, I love you, Jenna. Don't read chapter 17. You know why.
I know why, because I read chapter 17, Maggie.
I'm sorry, I broke you. But yes, no. I don't really consider myself a romance writer. I consider myself more of an overcomer writer and a people writer. And the romance just kind of comes along the way, and sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. And that's okay too, because that's real life. So yeah. Red Velvet and an Enemies is 99 cents for the weekend. If you want to go to my author page and pick it up. It is my Baker Millie story, so enjoy.
Howdy neighbors, I'm Sako Toomey, also known as Cass Voigt, and I do a lot of things and I wear a lot of hats. But this account is dedicated to my writing, in which I write urban fantasy with horror overtones. I am actually in the throes of writing a paranormal romance, which is why I'm here. So if you would like to be Googling me, you can find me under Sako Toomey, Psycho Sako, or Cass Voigt.
Stephanie.
All right. Stephanie, I write primarily contemporary small town romance, although my first foray into publishing was a trilogy that was a really palate cleansing for me about abuse growing up and how I saw light at it in a tunnel. I think Maggie read it. Yes, she said she cried. I'm sorry, but there is a happy ending. Look at me now. So after I wrote that, I decided I want to write something happier. So that's why I switched to romance, because what's happier than what I went through. But on this channel, I have a little bit of everything in my videos on this channel, vlogs and writing and reading and whatever happens to come out at the time. Right now, my first book, Ways of Love and Laughter, of my small town romance, is on sale as well for 99 cents because it's the month of love, and I thought, why not? There you go.
So, hey everybody, again, I'm writer Sam Wicker. Some news for me. All of my books are going to be free from March 2nd to March 8th, and that's the ebooks, and it's going to be part of the Smashwords promotion. I'm going to pop it into the chat real quick.
Oh boy.
So make sure to check that out. You can get I'm No Hero, The Belle Earth Witch, and Capture the Empress ebooks for free using that link, and a ton of others. I think I saw that there was like hundreds of books already signed up for that, so awesome. But yeah, I'm a writer of romantasy and erotica and things all the time.
Please, if you have not checked out my co-host channels and all the epic, amazing things they do outside of the YouTubes, please give them some love and some visits. We do have a playlist that is getting quite long. I did not realize that we've done so many seasons of this so far. So thank you everyone who has joined in the past. We are looking for other people to go ahead and join in. If you're old or new, this would be the form to fill out because we've got some more cool things to chat about toward the rest of this year. And above all, everyone, you know what I'm going to say. Take care of yourself. Your voice matters. Dang it. See you soon.